Here we have some more density practice problems. These are more word problems, whereas the previous were just given to you in this situation. You're just given your density, your mass, and your volume. Here you have to actually identify it in a word problem, then fill it into your density triangle, and then just solve. And so with these types of problems, what you want to do first is actually attempt to solve them, and then come back and watch the video explanation. So first try to solve it, then come back and watch the video. So attempt to solve number one. I'm going to go ahead and start going through it now, so you should have an answer. You should just pause the video and get an answer. I'm reading through it. A sample of nickel has a mass of 248.2 grams. I want to underline that because that's going to be important. And a volume of 31.4 milliliters. So those are the two numbers I'm given. Using these measurements, calculate the density of nickel. So we're going to end up calculating the density. So we don't know our density. So I'm going to put a D right there. We do know our mass. Our mass is 248.2. So what you should have done is come up here to mass and put 248.2. 48.2. Sorry, tough to read. It's all right though. 248.2. We all know what it says. And then down here where you put volume, you should have written 31.4. Just like that. Then you can see if they are vertical from each other, you do the top number divided by the bottom number, and that gives you your answer. So you would do 248.2 divided by 31.4, and the answer you should have ended up with is 7.9. And its density, so it's measured in grams, and then our volume was in milliliters, so it's going to be grams per milliliter. So that's your answer to number one, is 7.9 grams per milliliter. So check your work on that. Let's go to number two. Iron has a density of 3.1 grams per milliliter. I want to underline all the important numbers in the problem. A sample we have in class has a volume of 29 milliliters. What is the mass of this sample? So our unknown is mass. We are solving for mass because we were not given mass. We know our density. Our density is 3.1. So put 3.1 right here where density goes. I got the example of the density triangle up here. And our volume is 29 milliliters. So I'm going to put a 29 right there. Now, hopefully you remembered as you were solving this in your density triangle that if the numbers are next to each other, then you need to multiply. So you need to do 3.1 times 29, 3.1 multiplied by 29. And you end up with 89.9 as your mass. 89.9. And that is measured in grams because it's mass. Make sure you check your units. So 89.9 grams is going to be your final answer. These are all just one-step problems. All right, let's try our last one here. This one is a little bit more difficult. A rectangular sample of calcium has dimensions of 4.2 centimeters by 1.9 centimeters by 12.4 centimeters. Its mass is 1499 grams. What is its density? So we know we're solving for density. So we know we don't know our density. So I'm going to put a D right here. We know we don't know that. And we know its mass is 1499. So I'm going to put a 1499 right here. So we know we're solving for that. But what is our volume? Well, remember how way back the first slide I said that volume could be measured in centimeters cubed? Well, look here. We have 1, 2, 3 centimeter measurements. So if you multiply all of these together, you actually end up with centimeters cubed. You see how they have the little multiplication symbols right here? So to calculate the volume, this is the first two-step problem we've seen. To calculate the volume, you would have needed to do 4.2 multiplied by 1.9 multiplied by 12.4. And you end up with 98.9. 98.9, and that is centimeters cubed, which remember, a centimeter cubed is the same thing as a milliliter, so it's just fine if we calculate it in centimeters cubed. So if you ever see dimensions like this, that's when you need to do 4.2 multiplied by 1.9 multiplied by 12.4. So you'll see centimeters cubed anytime there's a rectangular sample, because then you can measure its volume with a ruler instead of having to use a cylinder. So now that we have all of these put in here, all you needed to do was 1499 divided by 98.9 because remember, if they're vertical from each other, you do top number divided by bottom number. You end up with 15.2. 15.2 is your answer in density. Now we'll see if you got the units right. It would be grams for the mass per. Now usually it'd be grams per milliliter, but because we had centimeters cubed this time around, it's going to be grams per centimeter cubed. So if you didn't get that right, go back and correct it. But there's going to be problems like this that you'll see, so make sure you know to do length times width times height, and that will just calculate the volume for you. So there's 3 density practice problems. Hopefully you have the hang of it. We'll get some more practice with density, but that is density. Good luck and farewell.